Shelf Life Book Reviews is once again online in Facebook and YouTube. And as always, we're so proud to bring to you two great, highly recommended fiction works. The first one is The Last Exiles by Shin. This is published by Park Row Books and it retails for $23.99. Shin is a noted filmmaker, and this is her first attempt at fiction. And it might surprise you because you might think this book is so well polished that you would imagine she'd been writing for years. Well, if this is any indication of her talent and what we can see in the future for this author, she's going to be around for a long time. The book is a very interesting story. It is set in North Korea, and it involves two lovers, Jin, J-I-N, and Suga. And they meet at the University of Pyongyang. And I'm sorry if I pronounced that incorrectly, but they fall in love. And Suga comes from a very well-to-do family. They look down at Jin because he is actually from a very poor family. And the family at times barely has enough money to put food on the table. But anyways, they're in love. And Jin notices that the North Korean police are very corrupt. They're stealing food from owners of stores, and even though it is an impoverished area, they're still stealing and keeping food from those who deserve it. So Jin steals a sack of cornmeal, and he is caught. And he's thrown into a prison, which is more like a concentration camp. The living conditions are terrible. It's almost shoulder to shoulder. It's basically survival of the fittest. Older people die, they just take them out and they're gone. And so it is a very dark and desolate book in many ways. But it actually, the book is based on real life events. So if this is any indication of what Shin researched and found, it is cringeworthy because it's terrible living conditions. So Jin, who's been in jail for several months, finally decides he needs to get out. So he plots a daring prison escape. He gets out, he goes in the river, and he's almost caught. But he finally makes it to China. Now, in the meantime, Suga has no idea what has happened to Jin. And so she finally receives word that he is somewhere in China. So she goes to China. And she gets caught up with some sort of unscrupulous people. First of all, a family that she goes to wants to sell her basically for sex. And so it becomes a real scary proposition as she sees other women in the same position. So to make a long story short, Jin and Suga do reunite, but not without a cost. It is definitely a hellish experience for them both. But as often is the case, love does truly win out. So The Last Exiles is definitely a book that will tug at your heartstring in many ways. It's eye-opening and a very well-written book. The second book of note is The Others by Sarah Blau. This is translated from the Hebrew by Danielle Zamir. And this is Sarah Blau's English language book debut. It is a very interesting book. The story revolves around four women who all went to a university, and they vowed that they would all be childless through their life based on the readings of the Torah. And they say that they will not have children, and they're very adamant about this. But suddenly there are murders that occur. Actually, the book is narrated by Sheila, who was one of the original four. She tells the story of how they met and how through life they were committed to being childless, but murders take over the group. The first victim, the first person that's killed is Dinah. She is tied to a chair, and a baby doll is glued to her hand. In fact, it's glued so hard to her hand that they can't get it off, and it has to be buried with her in her coffin. So anyways, mother is written in their foreheads in lipstick. So the killer is someone who obviously knew them from before and realized they wanted to be childless, and now they're being punished for it one by one. The second victim is Ronnie, and she is also killed in a similar manner. She is tied to a chair and a baby glued to her hand, and mother written in lipstick across her forehead. So it gets more and more bizarre. Now, one of the original four, called Nama, she committed suicide years before because she couldn't cope with what had gone on in her life and the fact that she had vowed to be childless. So there is a detective. Her name is Misha Yarden, and she investigates the case, and she thinks Sheila, who narrates the book, that she is the killer for some reason. And so she suspects her right from the beginning, but Sheila, I can say, was not the killer. So, and that's just a little spoiler. I'm not going to say who was the killer and why, but it's a very interesting story. The book is not very long. It's under 250 pages, but the author, Sarah Blau, certainly manages to pack a lot into a rather short work. And translated from the Hebrew into English, it loses nothing in the translation. It is like one of those classic murder mysteries that you will be engrossed with from first page to last. So those are the two books that I wanted to bring to your attention, The Last Exiles and the others. And hopefully you will seek them out when you go to your store to purchase books. So as always, I thank you for watching Shelf Life Book Reviews online, and I welcome your comments, positive, negative, and any suggestion you wish to offer me. So I will see you again real soon. As always, stay safe, stay sane, stay social distancing, and do stay in touch. Bye for now.